Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Skiing is Believing podcast, brought to you by Ski Racing Media. Alan, this week we've got a roundup of the summer's biggest news stories.
Yeah, and there's quite a few.
Oh, there's quite a few.
Quite a few, yeah.
And to take us through those exciting news stories, we've got Marc Telling, Ambition Reach Racing Coach, with us. Welcome to the podcast, Marc. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Matt. Thanks, Alan. I'm doing very well, thank you. I am just finishing a bit of an easy summer and about to go back off to Chile, actually, to spend the last few weeks of their spring, I guess, out there and finishing off some races for our U18s. So looking forward to that. But nice to be here.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for joining us. And we can get cracking with the news that came out a few weeks ago now, that the new world Super G champion, the 31-year-old Austrian Stephanie Venier, has announced her retirement. We did cover it on a previous episode, of course, big breaking news at the time, but we can now confirm that she is expecting her first child with her partner, Christian Waldner, former World Cup racer, also from Austria. They're getting married later this month in Austria, and confirmed that her retirement in August wasn't in fact linked to pregnancy. But now that we know she is pregnant, it does kind of explain it a little bit more. Alan, we've already expressed our sadness and congratulations to Venier on a great career, but Marc, to lose a world champion just months after they've won the gold medal is a little bit strange, and she's going to be a big miss.
Yeah, usually, in my experience anyway, usually we'd see more retirements sort of next summer after the Olympics. I think it's quite uncommon to see them in a World Championship year that is directly before the Olympic Games. So that was I would say a little bit of a shock. But at the same time, she's Austrian. She won the gold in Saalbach at, let's say, a home World Championships. And as such, it may well have just been, sort of a lot of things coming together in a positive way at the right time and thinking, you know what, my work here is done. On the flip side of that, I have done some reading around it. There's obviously the Austrian team. Some of the staff have been in the press, not least Roland Assinger, the men's head coach. Ladies head coach, excuse me. And I have read both sides of this, or I've been able to gather a little bit of each side. And I think he had a press release out not too long ago, and an article in which it was, just saying from his side, it's just an adaptation to the sort of new demands or new attitudes or characteristics of the modern day athlete. They want to be more involved in the decision making. They want to have more input. They have more questions. And I, without speaking out of turn, I believe the sort of older school Austrian culture was a bit more sort of, I'm the coach, you're the athlete. This is what we're doing. Get on with it. And that's not to say this is necessarily linked to this case and the retirement, but it could well be.
Yeah, I think that was kind of public criticism coming Assinger's way, and a few of the athletes seem a little bit unhappy with the way that's come out. But the most important thing, Alan, which I read in the recent update when she announced her pregnancy, that Venier has no regrets.
No, which is good.
And she said that.
And she's going out at the top, isn't she?
Absolutely.
So she'll have fond memories anyway. And you never know, she might come back.
Yeah, she's got the chance to use the wild card as world champion.
You never know.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's interesting as well. So I guess, we'll come on to it probably later, but one of the thoughts I had, or one of the questions I had, was how long do these wildcards last, and is there an injury status wildcard situation that is coming our way with Marcel? I assume that there is, but although I haven't actually done much reading on it, but I assume that that's coming our way. So again, I was actually bizarrely on a first aid course the last couple of days with Charlie Guest, and was asking her sort of her views on a couple of things, couple of sort of ski racing current affairs. And it's really interesting, the wildcard thing, because as exciting as it is for all of us fans, it's also for the sort of athletes that are still racing and are in there. You're always, you're kind of looking over your shoulder, wondering whether there's a former world champion that's about to sort of come out of retirement for another big day. And I don't know, everyone likes a comeback story, don't they? So I think for us fans, it's brilliant.
You mentioned Marcel there, so I'll take the bait.
Okay.
Because obviously there was the way he put it was, now we can call it a comeback in the re-return for the Dutchman. And he's back on snow indoors a few weeks ago in Zoetermeer, I believe in Austria. Now at 36 years old, having scored GS points in Solden. Alan,
Yeah.
do you believe ahead of this season, as opposed to ahead of last season, that he's more likely to do it again? Would it surprise you less if he was successful?
Yeah.
Because we've seen him do it.
I believe last time he intended to carry on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I think he realised then that it takes more than just wanting to do it. And I think he's better prepared this time. And I think the passion's there, and I'm sure he'll do well. I'm sure he'll do well. I don't think he'll win much, but I think people will know he's around. I think people will know he's around.
The interesting thing for me with that is with Marcel is, well, a couple of things. Firstly, all of his interviews and all of his press and media coming out, and I believe he's sincere on this. He's very much there's a lot of people asking, like, why would you go back to it again? Like, you came back, you got injured, is that not a warning?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, no, because his reason for coming back is because of the passion he has for ski racing and the love he has for ski racing. And that to me it's a really cool message to be put out to younger athletes and to everyone. It's the honesty and genuine nature of his words and his comments, I think are brilliant for the sport. It's great to hear that it's it's not about necessarily ego. It's not about another payday. It's about, what, I've retired. I've had a bit of life away from the sport, and actually, I still really love it. So I want to do it. And to me, it does seem as simple as that. I agree with you, Alan. Last summer, I was in New Zealand, and we had some pretty tricky conditions. And I think Marcel was meant to train at Coronet Peak a couple of times when I was there, and the training had been, I think we had some weather problems. It had been called off for whatever reason, but I did see him around. And then I saw one of his interviews, I believe he had said, I've not actually had much time to do as much training as I would have liked. This was in the last prep period. And, I think he just, with Van Deer and with other projects, he hadn't actually managed to do as much preparation as he would have liked. And although he got the top 30 there in Solden, which was awesome, it was absolutely amazing to watch and so cool. I'm apart from Hermann Maier in the sort of decade before, I'm a huge Marcel Hirscher fan. He's a favorite skier. And, I think after the injury, it's kind of like, well, now I have no choice but to prepare well, because you have to go through that rehab, go through the full process and build it from the ground up again. So I think he'll be better prepared. I think lots and lots of people are very well prepared, but I'm really intrigued to see if he comes back and goes, boom, another step higher than we're perhaps expecting. So truly exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he may have only just returned to snow, but he knows every single track out there. He's done them all. You'd say more than most. He's also acquired a lot of new members on his skis this summer, which we'll come on to.
Yeah.
And if he's got even more guys in the top 10 in World Cup giant slalom and even slalom, he's going to be tweaking and seeing what's working and seeing what's not. in different conditions. This is the thing. He wasn't able to adapt to the ice in Gurgle or the kind of more powdery snow that there was in Levy, because it snowed a lot in the days leading up to it, particularly in slalom, where, all right, we only got one indication of how good his GS was, and it was in his former home. But I think if it is going to happen, I've got my eye firmly set on GS. Slalom is a lot different because there's 30 odd guys that could podium.
Oh yeah,
and he could well be one of them.
It could well be. Well, let's face it. When he was at the top, there were nobody to touch. Nobody could touch him, could they? Really?
No,
when he was firing on all cylinders. You know,
when
it was so
when he wanted to put the hammer down, it was pretty hard to keep up with him. And I dare say Dave may have had a second Kitzbühel win if it wasn't for Marcel Hirscher, or a win earlier on in his career. You know, the thing with slalom as well, obviously, and I think he mentioned this after last year, after competing in Solden, was like, wow, that's taken its toll on my body for a few days. And for those of us that have you know, long since retired from skiing to a much, much lower standard of skiing than Marcel Hirscher, I can vouch for the fact that if you whack your skis on and hammer around a few gates, even if it's just on the flat, you're you know, you feel it in your back and your hips and your knees, etc. the next day. And so I think he'll be better prepared for all of that this year, and an exciting season to come from him.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Let's talk about Dave Riding, because he is on the list of to-do list for this episode. He's on the agenda. The announcement that came through in June, I believe, that the 38-year-old Brit will retire at the end of next season. He's currently on 7 podiums and just the one victory from just the one. I say it as if it's not impressive. Just the one win from Kitzbühel. And I know, Mark, that when the decision came out, you wanted to touch on his legacy, so take it away.
Yeah, you know, there was the GBS end of season sort of, I don't want to say debrief. It was a get together and a talk and a sort of thanks to people. Dave was there. I thought he spoke brilliantly, spoke really well. Unfortunately, didn't actually stick my hand up in the Q&A. And I think, you know, my sort of questions to him would be around, you know, what advice he's got for the next generation of, you know, especially, I would say, younger British athletes, what he's truly found to be important, not all the things we sort of, you know, we necessarily want to say or are politically correct or anything else, all the fluff aside. What's he really found to be important from his coaches? What's he found to be really important, you know, or he's had to rely on for himself, his own characteristics? I think, you know, what's absolutely undeniable is he has given people the belief that it's possible. He is you know, that's without doubt. It's clear, it's factual. He is, you know, he's won a World Cup and podiumed a fair few times on top of that. You know, and he has 3 trophies sitting somewhere in his home, I imagine, from Kitzbühel, which is unbelievably cool. And so that's made a whole generation of skiers think, well, it might be difficult, but it's definitely possible to achieve those heights and those levels. And he's not done it from, let's say, a huge amount of I don't want to say funding, because I do believe that the levels of funding that have come from GBS going into his program have always been quite significant. I've sat on various committees that have approved those budgets, and it's always been, to my knowledge, reasonable. But he's not from a necessarily affluent family. He's not had it handed to him on a plate. He's had to put in a lot of hard work, and he's had some very motivated people around him as well, not least his longtime coach Tristan, you know, sort of going through that whole journey with him. So definitely the belief of what's possible. And I think, there's obviously the very exciting sort of dynasty of the Carrick Smiths coming up behind him. There's lots of others as well, and it's easy to just point to the Carrick Smiths, but I think, he will have inspired the next generation to give it a go, and that's what it's about. Finish first. First, you've got to finish, and before you even do that, you've got to start. You've got to just get on and give it a go and see what happens. So, I think it's probably, I'm probably not even doing him enough of a service with those comments, but what he's done for the sport is, I would say, undescribable, really. And I think we've all in the UK benefited one way or another from him trailblazing that path.
Alan, there's obviously been the small nations around the World Cup tour for years, and they've always found a way somewhere in the mix, and at times towards the top of the table. But do you think, with Dave having won back in 2022 and been so consistent, and he'll still be ski racing at 39, all things going well, has he changed the perspective to now the number of different nationalities we see on a World Cup start list and in a World Cup top 15?
Yeah,
the Belgians can believe they can win, and the Finns, and I know that they've got lots of snow, but they don't have a big squad, and all these different nationalities. Andorra are now in the mix, and many others.
It's a big role model for many people,
not just Brits. It's my point.
Yeah, exactly. Anywhere who can understand what he's saying, and what he's doing, will take him as a role model. And let's face it, you couldn't have a better one, really. No. I mean, we talk about Marcel Hirschi, who's been brilliant. I mean, he is brilliant. But what Dave has done is another level. It's a different thing altogether. And I think it's fantastic what he's done. Never mind his age. We're talking now about a guy coming back at 35. Will he be good enough? He's 38. And he's still very much good enough, It is. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. And I just hope that he can. He has inspired a lot of people, and I just hope they can take more inspiration from him when he gets his next medal, which he will be getting in a few months.
Is that a call towards Milano Cortina?
It could be. I just have this feeling.
One last hurrah.
I just have this feeling that we're going to be saying next year, it's gone out on a high. You're talking about Stephanie, and why not? Why not? I think he'll be better this year than last year. Basically, because he's got two guys pushing him more, and secondly, because he'll be used to his equipment more this year than what he was last year. Because he just changed last year, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he'll be a lot more comfortable with his gear. But we'll see.
Okay. And a lot more comfortable without Tristan.
Yeah.
Because you've got to remember how closely they worked together for so long that he obviously went with the Americans to adapt to life without him on the road.
Yeah.
It's difficult to lose a big coach like that. Let's come on to the other major retirements of those who have retired. And this I see is quite strange, timing-wise, from the 30-year-old Norwegian Rasmus Vindingstad, who spent 11 years on the World Cup Tour, predominantly successful in giant slalom competition, 3 World Cup podiums and 1 win in his time. And like Mark mentioned with Veneer, to go out before Olympics is a little bit random, but with the strength of the Norwegian team, particularly in GS, potentially he doesn't feel that he can compete for that Olympic spot.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would say you never know how these things are being dealt with within the team, sort of on the inside. I would imagine there's some sort of feeling or thought process in his mind of the likelihood of whether he's going to go to the Olympics. And quite often these guys are, if they're a little bit older, they have their sights set on, say, an Olympic Games or a World Championships, that they're like, okay, I'm going to give it my best until that shot. And so until that point in the season. And if he believes, maybe, perhaps, this is me speculating, that he's not going to reach that standard, or that there's, maybe internally there's been a tip of the hat of sort of, look, it's unlikely you're going to go. Maybe he's thought, okay, well, age and everything else considering, then I think I'm going to, sort of hand in my notice now. It's a shame because apart from the superstars of the Norwegian team, one of the great things is actually their strength in depth, considering how few there are. They don't have huge teams. They don't have multiple, sort of 20 people in a team and huge amounts of money and staff necessarily. So it is a shame. And I, for one, always liked watching his skiing, slightly different style. And he's had successes along the way. I think, a team parallel and an individual parallel victory, if I'm not mistaken. And, he's had a great career. Would have been nice to see him at the Olympics, but I think he probably thought, I'm not going to get that ticket in Milan Cortina. So here we are.
I mean, it's no big deal missing out on the Norwegian Olympic team, because they've got 4 in the top, maybe even top 10 in GS. McGrath maybe just outside the top 10 from last season's standings. I'm not too sure, but like, you're talking about probably, in terms of depth of an Olympic squad, the best Olympic men's GS team with those 4.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue the Swiss, but that's kind of 2 of them at the very top, or 3 of them at the very maybe, I don't know.
Go on. Difficult.
You can understand him making this decision at this time. Yeah. Although, as Mark says, it would have been great to see him at least battle another season.
Yeah, it would.
Where would you like to go next? We'll go to those other 2 retirements. So Sabrina Samada, the 27-year-old Kenyan. It's a real shame, because she was heading to the Olympics. It's a funding issue, which is obviously devastating. It was great to see her flying the flag for Africa in so many World Cup, World Championships, and in terms of World Champs, she was always there or thereabouts near that top 30. And as I said, just a real shame that her career has been ended so abruptly.
Yeah. Well, it was for me. It was really unexpected, because firstly, let me start off by saying that she's absolutely brilliant and a lovely person, very chatty, welcoming. We spent a lot of time with her last season. The girl I was coaching, Honor, was doing Europa Cup, or some Europa Cup speed events. Was her first season trying a few at that level. And Sabrina was always chatty, always friendly, and actually I believe, I'm trying to think where it was in the end, but she had a couple of good results, I think, in Santal. And I thought she was, she had a different coach, and they seemed to be buzzing. They seemed to be really moving things along and getting somewhere. So I was hugely saddened to see that post, because just simply because she's a great person to have on the circuit, and and it brings something different. It's quite a unique situation for someone in their World Championship events, or even in Europa Cup. You're not seeing many athletes from Kenya come and or representing Kenya come and compete. And so that adds something to it, and a huge shame. I loved her posts, sort of a social media post during the summer outlining the story. The few conversations that I'd had with her this year were kind of around that. We're like, so how how did you end up getting into this, and how did this all come about? And for her to put that out publicly, I thought that was really, heartwarming and interesting to see as well. But she'll be absolutely missed. And it's great, or the great thing about this sport is to come across people from different backgrounds and come across people that are, leave an impression on you. So yeah, best of luck to her with whatever she decides to move on to. But yeah, and a real shame.
Yeah, great words. Yeah. And then the other one is Ronnie Remmer, who had hit the World Cup top 10 a few years back for Canada, then switched her allegiances to Germany, and has now retired in between World Championships and Olympics. She's had some serious struggles with injury. I think a leg break on more than one occasion, if I recall correctly. So yeah, sad to see Ronnie Remmer hang up the skis and boots. I think that is the retirement's covered.
But let's just mention we have got one coming at the end of the season with Laura Coop.
Is this official news?
I think it is.
Who have you heard it from?
No.
Have you got an inside source out?
No,
Alan, who's your source? Who's your source?
Yeah, because she's not on social media. Where are you getting this from?
I believe that she said.
I think she did
that
a couple of years ago.
At the end of the Olympic year, she's going to retire.
She'll be
34. Yeah. And she'll probably come back here after.
Yeah. Do a
well, as far as retirements go, gentlemen, that's the one that will sadden me the most. I will leave it at that. But I'd be very sad not to see Lara Goot on the circuit anymore.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Might she not hang on for a home world champs in Cran Montana?
Well, you never know, do you? But that
it'd be tempting.
Yeah. Okay. Move on then.
No, but I think that is. I would think she will.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless something changes, unless she's still winning.
Well, yeah.
Because she spoke pre World Cup final. She was saying, I'd fallen out of the love of this sport until I came to Idaho, and then won the last two races of the season, to take the Super G title and to beat Brignoni finally again in giant slalom. So that was fun to see, and there's no doubt that Goot Barami, for me, will get 2 more wins to hit 50 World Cup victories, having already got 100 podiums last season. Let's come now to Cyprian Sarazan, and this is another piece of news that we kind of covered briefly, but following the horrible crash in the Bormio downhill training run last December, he has announced that he won't race the 2025-26 Olympic season, but is determined to return for 2026-27 and the World Championships. He spoke to press in France a few weeks ago in this announcement. And Mark, he's going to be a big miss on the men's downhill circuit. Well,
he absolutely is. I mean, I'm just thinking back to the sort of jumping on the barriers at Kitzbühel, and let's not say bursting onto the scene. He was already an accomplished, World Cup racer, but that was really sort of
NGS.
yeah, that was really sort of him, his true colours showing, and a bit of showmanship, and it just made the whole thing super exciting, and people were definitely endeared to his character and everything else. And that, I fully understand the decision. I imagine it's upon good medical advice what he's doing, a slow and steady return after a head injury. We've seen them before. We know now how serious they can be compared to 15, 20 years ago. They're on everyone's radar. And I think, if you look at rugby technology, I actually was only finding out about this quite recently, but rugby technology with the sort of gum shields with the sensors in, people are getting more and more clued up and better informed and educated on the severity of head injuries. So, not that was his only injury, but I do think that if he's taking a steady approach back to it, whilst we as ski fans will miss him dearly, in the 25-26 season. I can also understand him not necessarily wanting in his first season back to fire down the Bormio downhill again, to be honest. So yeah, makes some sense to me.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a shame, but I just hope he comes back. That's all I would say. I just hope that it isn't career-ending.
Yeah, because the sport needs characters, and he's certainly a character.
He's one of the very best characters.
Yeah.
I'm going to come to you, Alan, because Alexander Kilder is a couple of weeks into his 100-day countdown to the Birds of Prey opener, the first downhill of the season. He's got this 100-day countdown going on Instagram where he's counting down every single day. Back on snow in Chile, he was skiing a bit of longer turns, not necessarily in gates with Schifrin, but I have seen some clips of him back in Super G gates, not full pace just yet, but
it's a long time yet. He's got plenty of time.
And by the time he comes back in Beaver Creek, it'll be a month short of 2 years from the horrible crash in Wengen. So maybe Sarazan's taking a leaf out of Kilder's book in terms of taking your time. Of course, there were complications with him last summer when he was back on snow in Chile a year ago. And if we might be missing Sarazan, Mark, but another of the big players on the downhill circuit looks like he's going to be back. Fingers crossed, all being well. Kilder to return.
Yeah, so that's it's awesome, isn't it? For a while there, you were sort of thinking, is this injury so complicated that he'll ever be back? And like yourself, Matt, I was encouraged on spend like the rest of the world a fair bit of time on social media, and when he's him documenting his return to racing is really cool. And I think again, as ski racing fans, everyone will be absolutely rooting for him. He actually, so I know he does some of his rehab work at Base 5 in Innsbruck. We've spent a little bit of time there this summer, or Honor Bartlett has spent a considerable amount of time there this summer. And I don't know Kilder at all. I did see him with a few photographers, it's almost like a Baywatch-esque move, climbing out of the swimming pool with a few photographers around. But I know that's as much as I've seen of him. But I know she's had a few conversations with him, and he's been nothing but amazingly sort of encouraging and supportive despite his own challenges. Has been saying, these things take time, just bear with it, keep chipping away at it, and you'll get back on snow. And he's definitely a brilliant role model for the sport. And so having him back on snow, he just seems like a true gentleman, doesn't he? Having him back on snow will be, I think, a lift for everyone. And in the speed events, we need someone to challenge Odermatt, although he's got his own teammates challenging him. We sort of need a Sarazan, and we need a Kilder to sort of mix it up a bit, don't we? So that's good. Yeah. That's great to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely,
absolutely. I think that's all the kind of extra bits kind of covered and the retirements. So we're going to come now to some of the key equipment changes. The transfer market has been it's been flooding, hasn't it, with changes. And with three Brits that are around here, we'll start with Billy Major, moving from Fisher to Head. Laurie Taylor and Dave Riding both already on Head. I suppose that makes it slightly easier for Alan Baxter tuning the skis. Do you think that will make it any easier to have the three of them all on the same equipment, Mark? Is that a big factor?
Yeah, it's definitely a Laurie sort of paved the way, or Alan even paved the way, because of course Alan had a very successful career on Head. maintained those contacts, I believe, when he was boot fitting as well. And so, Alan knows a lot about the head setup and equipment. Himself and Laurie and he have definitely done their fair share of sort of research and testing over the years. And I think that has made it a little bit easier for Dave to move on to the ski, have a little bit of knowledge there, and definitely the combination of Laurie and Dave being on the skis will make it a little bit more seamless for Billy. I guess in some respects they'll pool skis, and they may well, learn from one another, test out each other's equipment. I'm sure they'll all have a slightly different setup dialed in for different conditions. But I do think that's it's just an easier, not least from the logistics, it's an easier project to manage when you're all on the same equipment. So, I did, Matt, for a while wonder whether, when I saw all these people, this mass exodus from Fisher, I did wonder whether we were about to get a sort of bankruptcy update or something. I was thinking, what's going on here? But it seems of late, in the last sort of 3-4 weeks, they've almost fought back a bit and announced a few skiers kind of their own, or people that they've retained. They're advertising a bit more. And so I think, they've just really had to trim down their offering and the amount of athletes they're supporting. But they are definitely still in the game, so to speak.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I think they are possibly keeping hold of people who wouldn't cost them as much.
Okay.
I think they've kept Stefan Brensteiner and Dominik Raschner as kind of their like Austrian poster boys, if you like. But like Daniel Yule's gone, you would imagine his contract is a pretty good one after having spent 19 years on the brand. Moving to Atomic, it was very strange to see him training in all red. I saw a picture and that just seemed weird to me. Daniel Yule on Redsters. But of course, he's kind of trying to restart the fire a bit. Yule, not in great shape and great form last year. Obviously, a great Swiss squad around him now. They've been just finished up their camp in New Zealand with, Tanguy Neff coming through. He's on the Atomic, so that could work pretty nicely. The other one from the Swiss team is the Stockley acquiring a couple of their younger racers. Hackler and Kuntz. Delio Kuntz's brother is already on the brand, so that's another interesting one to follow. Two younger Swiss racers, but as you say with Fisher, I just seen this week that Hallberg and Leto sound like a double Finland deal, contract extension for a couple more years, which is cool. Obviously, they're both skiing pretty well on the Fishers, Alan.
And of course, you've got AJ Guinness.
Yeah, we'll come to them.
Going on the Van Diers.
What do we think about that? Because he's back on snow now. He was training indoors earlier in the summer and has been on a glacier as well. We'll start with AJ Guinness because he's going to be like the slalom guy, I presume, or the newest slalom guy for Van Dier. What do you think about that one, Mark?
Well, it's hard to know the ins and outs of whether he was let go or what. But AJ is actually based in Southfelden. He spends, there's a fair bit of time when the Van Dier guys are with Christopherson around at Hinterreit. I wonder whether there was a conversation there, or AJ was there a little bit towards the end of this season, just doing his back to snow turns, and it could well be that he just thought, okay, it's time for a change, or it could well be that it's like, did he jump or was he pushed? It's not entirely clear to me, but I think it's such an attractive prospect, isn't it? I mean, they're very, 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 very well supported. I think the limited number of guys that are on the Van Diers, it does seem, I know when Charlie was being supported, he had a serviceman, vehicles at times. So there's the support, but also there's just there's the wow factor. Loads of us grew up as huge fans of Marcel Hirscher, and he's got this ski brand. And I don't know. If it was me, all logic would go out the window. If Marcel Hirscher said to me, "Would you like to ski on my skis?" To slide around courses, Mark. I'd be in absolute awe of just the conversation and jump straight on them. So yeah. Christopherson has proved quite it's undeniable, quite definitively that you can be fast on them, you can win on them. So AJ's obviously got a different style of skiing, but I think he'll make them work. I think he'll do well.
So Greece got the shiny contract, and so did Andorra. Joan Verdu moving from Head to Van Dier.
Yeah.
Alan, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Go on.
Will Joan Verdu win a World Cup? Not necessarily this season.
Oh,
not necessarily on the ski, just in his career.
I think yes. It would be fantastic if he did.
Yeah. I think he's fast enough.
Yeah, but there's so many good ones about. You know what I mean?
Men's GS and slalom is so hard to call.
It's so hard, but I'd like to see him get a podium, and I think he might just do that.
In that podium again.
Maybe not this year, but I think he might. It depends how he comes back. Is
Yeah.
He's another Van Dier, isn't he?
Exactly.
So they might have a great time, Van Dier, this winter. What with Henrik Kristoffersen and Marcel and these two guys and Tim and Haugen. Yeah, I mean they could have a wonderful season. They might. He's going for the manufacturers.
Constructors.
Championship. Yeah, he's going for. Yeah, he's going for constructors.
Verdu. Juan Verdu for me. I think he's gonna. To me, I don't know him, but everything I see on social media, and of course, are we believing everything we see on there? Who knows? We probably shouldn't, but he does seem incredibly determined, incredibly motivated. He trains like an animal. So his cycling challenge that I saw a few months ago or a month ago just looked absolutely wild. He was doing endless kilometers.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and so I think I'm being biased, but definitely it would be a preference of mine to see him win a World Cup. Yeah, and I think he'll do it. I think he'll manage it because I think he's got the desire, the drive, and the athleticism to do it. He's certainly one of the most exciting guys. Physically, must be either in or coming into his absolute prime, and he's old enough to have the experience now. So the only thing that will stop him are tweaks, injuries. If you ski that much on the limit and you're that intense, you're putting huge load through the body. But yeah, another favorite of mine. I'd love to see him win this season, and I think he will.
He's had back injuries, hip injuries that have prevented him from. I remember Solden at the start of last season. It was like, will Verdu start? Will Hirscher start? In the end, it was the older guy that was in the points. And I think it was like the season before last when he had his podiums, hit the podium in Val d'Isère, then missed most of the season, and then hit it again right at the very end in finals at Saalbach. And I'd love to see him do something special at the Olympics.
Yeah, because
and get Andorra towards the medal table. Imagine that. You mentioned his cycling there. I think he's got a public account on Strava, so go check out that Mamba challenge because that was ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
He must be an absolute machine. And his YouTube, all right, it's all in Catalan. That's fun to watch as well. He does train very intense training. And he's a very nice guy. I managed to chat to him very briefly in Hafjell. And he DNF'd, and he still came up and said, like, hi, had a quick chat, took a picture, it was all smiles, even though he's missed out on getting in the second run. So yeah, I'd love to see him do well.
Yeah, be good.
Another guy we accidentally bumped into was Rafael Haase.
Yeah.
And he's on Atomic now,
Atomic,
the world giant slalom champion.
Yeah.
What do you make of that for your brand?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Atomic's my brand. Yeah, I mean, surprised, but
Another Fisher departure.
yeah, I know. It's and he's staying, he's staying in Austria anyway, the Atomic. But I don't know what to say other than I'm surprised that he's,
Yeah.
But they know better. They know what they're doing, don't they?
Yeah. He's another one all in red.
Yeah.
New season.
I can only assume that off the back of him doing so well last season and obviously being the world champion, I can only assume that the offer for next season with Fisher was just not significant enough to challenge whatever it was Atomic had offered. And we know that Atomic's a good ski. It's not far away in Austria, in Altenmark there. I imagine that he's completely confident that he's going to get good equipment and be able to use the Atomic in a successful way. And so if you're confident in the equipment but someone else is sort of really offering you a great project and prospect and finances to be on them, I think it probably would have been down to that. And that's certainly how it looked to be with the whole Fisher mass exodus. It must have been a little bit sort of, well, we need to offload people. We can't quite offer this or that. And I don't imagine it was all sort of with bad feeling. I imagine there's probably a sort of presentation of, look, this is all we can do for you. And but take it or leave it. That's where we're at. Be interesting to see, but I don't think it's a risky move. The Atomic is it's a damn good ski. So
no.
He's been with Fisher since he was a teenager, so that's another factor in it. Another one making the Fisher Atomic switch was the King of Coronet Peak, Jet Seymour, won both of the slaloms down there last week, and the American. It's a pretty good start for him on the Atomics. To win both of those slaloms in a pretty decent start field. These next ones are arguably the most interesting ones in terms of looking at it and thinking, okay, that the three Austrian speedsters, Max Franz, Christoph Krenn, and Felix Neumeier, have all joined Van Dier Red Bull Racing. Their first ever speedsters. I didn't know Hirscher could make long skis. So if any of them have a breakthrough, you know who's getting the congratulations for that. So that's going to be fun to see how that unfolds. And the other big one that I wanted to ask both of you on, actually, after 9 years with Rossignol, Linus Strasser has transferred to Head.
Yeah.
Go on then,
Balls,
chaps.
Alan.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Head revolution, isn't it?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Like, we're sat here thinking,
yeah,
okay, you've had a decade or 20 years in some cases on this ski, but how do you adapt?
9 years.
The changes are kind of small, and the skier can obviously adapt that setup to however they want on whatever ski it is, really. The guys at the very top of the world. But Strasser, after a little bit of difficulty last year, didn't hit the World Cup podium, but got a World Champs medal. So another one, I think he's in a similar boat to you, was trying to
just
reignite and fresh it up, change of atmosphere, change of tempo. I think maybe
there's something to be said for that, Matt. I think as an athlete, you at varying times you just feel like, okay, I need to freshen this up. I need to change something. And I think it's, who knows it depends how you quantify certain things, but I think it's less of a risk changing skis in a Olympic year than it is to, say, change your whole coaching staff, for example. So, you kind of at a certain point, you know what's working for you. You want to keep, if you've got a tight knit team of personnel, you want to keep them around you, generally speaking, although there have been changes this year. You want to keep that quite consistent, I would say, but especially some of the older performers. I would think they're just looking for, they're taking a risk. They're thinking, will this reignite something? Will this spark something for me? And sometimes you just feel that you like chuck on a pair of skis, you think, oh, I'll try something else. Chuck on a pair of skis, you think, wow, like that felt good. And a lot of it's based around that. Of course, there's lots of testing, but we can't test every ski in every type of weather, temperature, snow condition, course set. So do you really know what's going to be faster in all the different variables? Not really. I know these guys do decent testing, and they try to work out what's going to be quicker, but I don't believe that you fully know off of spring testing how something's going to react on, say, I don't know, cold, dry snow. And so there's a little bit of that to consider. But I do think from Strasser, it's a performance decision. I don't think it's to do with anything going on at Rossignol. I just think that's to do with like, okay, I want to change something. And again, as you've already said with Yule, I think he's probably seen and has listened to the conversations that Tongi's had over the last couple of seasons, or at least the last couple of races, and thought, okay, he's made a change that seems to have worked. I'll follow suit and see how it works for me. So it's interesting from Strasser, but I think off of an average season by his standards, it kind of makes some sense just to take a risk and give it a go.
One more from the men's side of things. Martin Shatter from Salomon to Rossignol, the Slovenian downhiller, and could be a similar situation with him, to be honest. The biggest one from the women's side of things is Marta Bassino leaving Salomon after 20 years, and she's transferred over to Head. Again, I think she's in a similar situation, having not quite been able to hit the highs of yesteryear last season, but could well find that spark on the Head skis this year. And I'm going to come to Alan, because there were 3 changes in the Austrian women's team. That point to our same switch for 2 of the Katerinas.
Fisher to Ricardo Hassa to Salomon. Same as Bassino.
I tell you what, Bassino's left Salomon.
The other way, yeah.
She's
hand him over.
Yeah. Hart is interesting because she was quick in speed last year.
Yeah.
And then got injured.
Yeah.
I think she could have done something similar to her brother and done something special at the World Champs, but obviously didn't quite make it with that unfortunate injury. Anything to add on the Austrians there, Mark?
No, I don't think. I think we've sort of said it all. I did wonder whether Fischer would retain, largely Austrian sort of skiers and Austrian racers because it's an Austrian company. But but it doesn't seem to have been the case. It doesn't seem to be that much consistency around who they've kept in terms of nationality. And we've talked about the rest. They've obviously got their reasons for cutting down, but be interesting to see. The interesting ones are obviously when someone's had a good season. When you've got momentum and when the train is going fast in the right direction, it's a little bit strange at times, or a bit of a risk to kind of just make any changes. You almost want to just keep everything going and Fizz, please add a few more races to the end of the calendar because I've got form here now. That's always it's always interesting. I think someone said it was maybe AJ a couple of years ago. It was like, I'm coming into form and the season's finishing. That's difficult to take, and you kind of just wish it went on a bit longer at times.
Let's move to some coaching changes because there's quite a lot. I'll start with the Austrian team, where Sepp Brunner has been replaced by Andreas Evers, who was coached. Hermann Maier was in this position as the head coach of the Austrian men's speed team for 13 years, up until 2012. And they had their issues last season. The Austrian men didn't win a World Cup until the last Super G of the season when Lucas Feuerstein saved them. So let's see if anything gets fixed from them. And they've also changed their Alpine director, with ex-Norwegian and Austrian coach Christian Mitter coming into that position. Someone like Kriegmeier, who was there but didn't win last season. World Champs medals, hit the podium a couple of times, getting a bit older, but still fast, obviously.
Yeah.
And having someone with such experience who worked with someone like Hermann Maier and knows the country, knows the team, knows what they want, was in that great period in the 2000s when they were so successful.
Yeah.
They could. I won't be surprised if they came back with a charge at the start of the season.
I think they might. I think I might have a good season. I hope he does, because I like him.
Yeah, you do.
I like Kriegmeier, yeah.
What is it about him, Alan?
I don't know. It's not,
Classic downhiller?
Well, sometimes, yeah, you get these things sometimes. You see them and you think, I like the way they go. Like Kilder, you know. You look at them and you think, yeah, I'm not going to say that's the way I would do it.
Well, he's a
but you know,
he's
what I
a
mean?
warrior,
I
isn't
think,
he? Kriegmeier, the way he got up out the
Yeah.
nets last year. I think that
Yeah.
was that in Wengen, where he sort of where he'd hurt himself. He just sort of
That was
you know,
Wengen, and then
just bounces back up, and he
okay.
seems like a
yeah, that was Wengen.
tough guy.
Yeah.
Miskit spill. And then one World Championship downhill silver.
Yeah.
It's just a pretty impressive turnaround.
Yeah.
The big change from the Swiss team is from the women's speed, where Stefan Papalanau,
I'm glad you said that.
I think that's how it's
I'm
pronounced.
glad you said that, because I was looking at it. I'm planning that. Yeah.
He worked with the team for 8 years and then has been an analyst on Swiss TV covering ski racing. But he's back with the women's speed team. Yeah, interesting, because they were going really well at one point. I remember thinking, this kind of women's speed team has come from nowhere for Switzerland, with like Fleury winning world champs in 23, and then the likes of Halflen hitting the podium, even sort of behind Gutbarami is the model of consistency. But yeah, I think they could, again, like we were saying with the Austrian men's speed team, come good again quickly.
So we're looking at the ladies' Swiss team trying to catch up with the men in
Yeah,
success,
the other way around.
and that's a hard one.
Oh God, yeah.
That's a tough
Clean sweeps galore.
That's a tough one. That.
Yeah, I think with a lot of these coaching changes as well, there's so Christian Mitter actually worked in his previous stint with the Norwegian team. I believe he was the head coach for a bit, and he had some oversight of what was going on towards the end of Svindal's career. As far as I'm aware, he was involved on that side of it as well, although not necessarily the speed coach, but he was involved. And Andy Avers, he was part of that. Andy Avers was part of that crew of, as you say, brilliant skiers in sort of late 90s, early 2000s, or through the 2000s. You had Hermann Maier, you had Eberharter, you had Valkoffer, you had Andreas Schifferer. There was just incredible winner after winner after winner. And Andy has held, high position jobs ever since then. He's been with the US, he's been with the Germans. He's very, very experienced, very, very knowledgeable. And I don't imagine he'll need much managing at all. He's the real deal as far as speed coaching goes. And then Stefan Ablanaup, I actually remember him because he used to coach. It was either for DHO or Sandown Park. And we're talking when I were a lad. So we're talking 25 years ago. And then I do think he had, he had a stint with the Norwegian women for a little bit with Lottie, and he had, he's also held some high positions. So he's no schmuck on these things either. So I think interesting placements. The one that's been interesting for me as well is obviously Alec Glebov going with the US women. Alex, a great guy, firstly, but has also, has spent a long time working now with Suti and with Christian Mitterer with the Norwegian team on the men's side. And no doubt he's going to take those experiences across to, the women's US tech team, who also, I think, alongside Jet winning both slaloms, I think Katie Hensian won both slaloms as well. Is that right, Matt? Did you have a look?
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah, she did.
So he's hit the ground
the
running over there.
Changed up a bit. With working with Jan Spieler as in the US women's tech team, but Glebov coming in as head coach, former Slovenian and Russian racer and coach. He's skied for both nationalities, and coached both nationalities. The other one, big news for the US men's speed team, Alan. Jono McBride is back.
Yes.
Worked with the great team of Miller, Rolfs, Weibrecht in the 2000s, and back in charge now with TJ Lanning. So don't be surprised if Bryce Bennett wins Vargadena.
Well, he's certainly got the experience, and he's certainly got the coaches on his side.
Mm-hmm.
They're top coaches, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's nice to see them do something.
Yeah, I think had Jono taken a step back and kind of done work with younger racers, maybe even college level, I think I might be right.
I think,
and he's come back all the way back up to take his former position. Let's see if we could get a few American downhillers charging again. Copper and Siegel.
Yeah,
be good to see.
I think with major events. I think with major events, you're looking for, especially, who knows what happened with Berkey was their coach last season with the speed group, and I don't know the dynamics of whether he was just retiring or whether he had finished a contract or whatever. But I definitely think, if you're bringing someone in for an Olympic year, they need to be tried and tested already. And McBride certainly gives them that. He knows the American team inside out, in terms of the sort of inner workings, the culture, the politics, all those kind of things are important, that you're sort of like, I know what's going on here. I've seen it all before. And this is the program we're going to run. And I believe this will lead us to success. So obviously, Marc Tilston, the Brit, is the men's head coach, for this Olympic cycle. I don't actually know what his longer term contract is, but he's certainly in place for this year. And from that side as well, like sort of as a Brit with Tristan there, with Marc Tilston there, you kind of want to see that the Americans have a bit of success as well, I think.
Yeah, seeing the way that Ben Ritchie kind of rose to it, starting the season down towards bib 50 and finishing the slalom standings in the top 20 was fun. And I would say Tristan is partly to congratulate for that rise. The other big one with Petra Vlhova, not expected back for some time. This is more towards the end of last season. Her head coach, Mauro Pini, has left his role for the Italian tech team. And the man who was in that role before Del Dio has left for the Norwegian men's tech team. So there's been a little bit of a merry-go-round there. And also, whilst I just point that out, Tommaso Sala, the Italian, has returned to snow after missing the majority of last season. They're one of their slalom races, so that's good to hear. And you've got one more that I'm missing, have you?
I've got Lindsey Vonn.
Oh my word! She's at the very top of my list.
Lindsey Vonn and Svindal.
Oh yeah, something important happened there, didn't it?
I think that's quite interesting.
Well, we left the best to last. There we go. Mark, you've got some thoughts on this one, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's cool. Imagine well, Svindal himself in his press release was a little bit like, I was shocked to get the call, didn't actually know what I would say, but then obviously it was going to be a yes. And it does seem like Svindal, from what Von was saying, he was one of the main sort of supporters of what she was doing when she was racing. And I think, there was, I guess what she'd alluded to was a number of times that she'd asked to race men's events, and I think the door was closed on that a few times, and probably Svindal, by the sounds of it, was one of the guys saying, yeah, sure, like sounds like a good thing. If you want to come and race us, we'll race anyone. And yeah, I think her description of it was to bring in that sort of expertise of been there, done that, and definitely it was to talk through the lines, and actually looking at the lines, looking at the tracks and being like, okay, this is where I would ski and this is the reason why. And that seemed to be what she was alluding to, as his role. And so cool for him. Like, you can see him and Jansrud, they always sort of reminiscing about their times racing, and both fathers and doing other things, but clearly that was a incredibly important and memorable period of their lives. And so I think it was really nice, wasn't it? It was lovely to see how gushing he was about it and positive he was about it all. So yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, we've seemed to be bringing up Lindsey Vonn in every episode at the minute.
I know, yeah.
It's just the talk of the town once again, and I think she is coming in hot to 25, 26, and to what you have to imagine is a final Olympics.
Yeah,
I would. Yeah, I would.
Do you think
she'll?
Surely.
I would be surprised if there was one more coming.
She'd be 45 in the Alps in 2030. Don't write her off.
No.
Because look at what she's done.
Yeah.
Already at 40.
Yeah. Well, but she says as long as she can do it, why not? She's enjoying it. If she's enjoying what she's doing,
and she's healthy and
yeah,
fit still, and
why
not?
Why not?
All the best to her. Have we got anything more to add, gentlemen?
No. That was my last piece.
Yeah, no, not from me. I in terms of the World Cup stuff per se, but just a small shout out, I think, for David Riding. I would love for Dave Riding to attend, and hopefully he will, and be at the British Champs this year. It's his last event. I feel like, or his last season, sorry. And I feel like the general skiing fraternity would probably love not only to see him, but to thank him for his service. And so, Dave, if you're listening, give me a shout. We'd love to see you at the British Champs in Santa Catarina in April this year. Next year, I should say, 2026.
Yeah.
Yep, I will send this to him. I'd say,
great stuff.
Mark's got a message for you at the end of the episode, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for your time, Mark. That's been great to talk over the big news stories and get us even more excited and ready for the Olympic season, which is now just around the corner. All the very best with ambition for this season and the next camp down in Chile. And we'll have you on again at some stage in the season, I'm sure.
Excellent stuff. Thank you, gentlemen. Much appreciated.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, all the very best.
Hello and welcome back to the Skiing is Believing podcast.
brought to you by Ski Racing Media. Alan and I are here for our final word. Alan, great to digest some of the summer's biggest stories with Marc just last week, wasn't it?
It was excellent, yeah. It was great to hear from him, and it's taken us all week to digest some of them because there were some good ideas there. A lot of the things I'm really interested in anyway. So it was good to hear that. It's good to hear things that you think about, but when you're an expert telling you the same thing, you think, oh, no, I'm on the right track. Yeah, it was really good conversation.
Yeah. And of course, this is what more of our podcast will look like for us virtually now.
I know.
We will try and get as many as possible face-to-face, but they will be less so. But we've just been working out the best microphone techniques and headphones and devices and everything, and we've got our system sorted, or getting towards sorted. But that isn't just quite yet for this week's episode, because we have got an exclusive quick catch-up with the man himself, Lucas Pinheiro Braathen. Caught up with Ski Racing Media's Darka earlier this week, and let's put this little clip in.
Okay, so you often say that you want to inspire people to have a courage in life to go their own way, and I would like to know, do you have any concrete example of the moment when you felt like the story to help to someone, or to guide someone?
Yeah, well, I think some of the richest moments that I get to experience is all the messages that I receive, where someone reaches out to me to express how they can show me an example of how they dare to take a dance class, for example, as a boy, for example, because they felt like maybe I showed them that that's okay. There's plenty of examples like that where people reach out to me, and I'm so grateful for that. And I think those are the moments that motivates me on the very tough days that trying to become the best in something offers, is thinking about those people and hopes that I can get another message with another person that tells me that I may have helped in one way or another. And I think that's some really beautiful experiences I get to have, and that motivates me a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. And maybe it's connected to your ski camp for youngsters.
For example, yes, very much so.
Yeah, so I would like to know if you have the same kids back, year after year, and if you see progress.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna keep pushing the foundation, allowing more and more children for every year that passes to be able to be included in sports. And I think that is one of the richest differences that I could bring, is allowing more and more people to take part in sports, because sports made me who I am, right? It changed my life. So when you know what type of effect it may have upon others, it is only right that when you have the possibility to enable more to at least be exposed to it, it makes me very fulfilled that I am able to enable more kids to take part in what I love so much. And I think the biggest value that sports brings to society is being able to connect with the community and grow personal abilities. And everyone deserves a chance at that.
Yeah, that's part actually changes my life as well.
That's so happy to hear.
Okay, and so in Brazil, all the races are now broadcast live in the Portuguese, with the Portuguese commentary. And so I would like to know if fans starting to recognize you more there when you are there.
I've now only started having some interactions in video. I remember both in Ipanema and Copacabana. I've been stopped, not with high frequency yet. Hopefully that will one day be the case, where I get stopped and asked if I'm that guy that does the thing on snow for Brazil. And I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy. It's like, oh my God. And then I get to have a very funny conversation about it, right? So it's starting to happen, and it's very, very fun. And let's see where it takes us.
Yeah, okay. And my last question is we saw your mom, your family, on the slopes, and I would like to know if they will go also this season.
Hopefully, we'll see. My mother lives in New Zealand, as far away as you get, pretty much. It's not easy. It's usually me that goes and travel to see her. But we try whenever it's possible. And it was obviously a fun moment to have my mother, for the very first time in her career, to witness me ski a World Cup race. That is one of the things that I thought was pretty a shame when I retired, that my mother never got to see me ski a World Cup race. And last season she did. So that was a really nice moment.
Keep her one big.
Yes, 100%.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for coming.
Here, great to hear from Lucas. Let's hear what he's got to say. Alan.
Yeah.
Great to hear from Lucas there, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yeah. Yeah, it was. Sure he's looking forward to this next year, as we all are. And it'll be good to see what he comes up with on this, when he's on his skis.
If you want to hear more from what happened, Darka was in Milan, and her piece is now available on Ski Racing Media, all about what he said in the press conference. And of course, that was the exclusive short chat that she managed to get with him away from the press conference. So thank you very much to both Lucas and Darka for doing that and sharing that with us here on the podcast. So what have we got coming up, Al?
Us personally, we've got lots coming up. We've got
Always.
We've got the Northern Snow Show, haven't we? That's the first thing. When we will be together.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we've got Northern Snow. We've got the London show. We've got Levy, and that's before the season. Well, just as the season gets going, really. And of course, like everybody else, we've got to look forward to Solden.
It is now less than a month until the season kicks off with those World Cup giant slalom openers from the Rentenbach Glacier, and we can't wait, just as you lot can't at home. And the countdown is seriously on and continues for us.
Yeah, definitely.
But next week we will have another interview for you that'll be going out next Friday, so stay tuned for that as ever. And there is one last thing to say. Alan, keep it up.
Ski you later.
We will ski you later.